Alright, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Alright,
I'm doing dashing.
excellent. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, as promised, we're going to start our lesson, our little unit on the mole and stoichiometry. I have a little activity that we're going to do in a few moments. This is going to help you kind of remember and practice your dimensional analysis. Alright? Remember, hashtag words first, right? It's all about the units. So that's what we're going to focus on. Okay? But first, did everybody turn in their vocabulary homework on Schoology?
Yes.
All right.
Wait. Was it the vocab chemistry one or the vocab 2 for chemistry?
It was the vocabulary that I gave you last time on
Okay,
Friday.
yeah.
It should have been in the school
yeah.
folder.
Yeah. Oh.
Right. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, just to recap, when we're doing dimensional analysis problems, right? What are the steps? What's step number one?
Start with what you're given and put it over one.
Right. Very good. So we're going to start with what you are given and put it over one. Alright? Excellent. So that would look, if you were given, let's say, 3.4 grams of H2, then we would put that over 1. What would be the second step?
Make a new fraction.
Make a new fraction, cancel what you don't need. So, make a new fraction and cancel what you don't. Cancel what you don't need. So in this case, there's our fraction. What don't we need?
Grams.
We're not going to need the grams, right? So let's just assume in this example that we're trying to find what? Let's say we start with grams. What could we calculate to? What could we find relating to hydrogen?
It's hydrogen.
Right, so we have grams of hydrogen. What could we find using this method? We already have grams. What could we be looking for?
Moles.
We could be looking for moles, right?
Yeah.
So if we were looking for moles, then we would cancel grams. Where do I write it? Top or bottom? Okay. So does that's what we've done so far. But the new twist is that here it stayed hydrogen all the time, right? With our mole ratios that we're going to practice, it's going to change from hydrogen to something else. Whatever is in the equation, our balanced equations, that's what it's going to change to. All right? So let's go ahead, get into the groups that I told you to get into, and then I'll come by, hand these out. There are scissors at the table so that you can start cutting these out, and then we'll begin the activity. Thanks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, you should all have your little cards cut out, okay? And at your stations, right, pair yourselves in two, right? But stick to your station. If there's an odd person out, then join the station next to you. Does that make sense? So the way this is going to work is that I'm going to write down, thank you. I'm going to write down what we're starting with, and then we're going to practice our dimensional analysis. We're going to practice this, but only the units. Does that make sense? All right. So, for example, and this will be the first one, right? You and your partner at your table are going to take turns putting down the cards, right? Does that make sense? So the first one will just be one step, and so that'll be easy. So, for example, if we start with, let's say we start. Okay. So let's say we're going to start the given. The given is x. And you want to take x and you want to use your fractions to convert it. You're going to convert it to, I want you to find volume. So if I give you x, right, the first step is, if I give you x,
Put over 1.
put over 1. What would be the next step?
Negative fraction.
Make a new fraction.
Yes, and then?
Calculate the fraction.
Right? But now what you're going to do is you're going to have a fraction on here that has x in it. And we're trying to get to volume. Is there a fraction that goes from x to volume? No. So where do we have to go first? Moles. Is there a little, there it is. Yeah. So you're going to place that on here. You might have to flip it upside down, but that goes there. Right? And then, so if you found it first, all right, let's do a real one. All right, and it's you and one partner at your table. Right? After the first group, then you're going to switch partners with somebody else at your table. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. All right. So, all right. So we're going to start. Given. I want you to find O. O is in orange. Okay. So once you're done with your first pairing, then switch to the next pairing at your station, at your table. Okay, and then you do the second one. You do orange. So we already did this worksheet earlier. We were practicing just balancing the equations. Okay? But today, right now, we're going to practice writing down our mole ratios. So if you remember from yesterday's lecture, right, mole ratios, how to get them, right? We did a bunch right here. William, do you remember yesterday? The stuff that was right here, the mole ratios? We wrote down all the different fractions because we were carrying them up, right? Right, and it should be in your notes if you put it in your notes. Okay, cool. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you need a refresher, take out your notes. But today, right now, we are going to practice. We're going to practice writing down the mole ratios. So let's take an easier one to start off with.
Number 10.
Number 10 is a good one to start off with. So here we have 2 hydrogens, here we have 2 oxygens, here we have 2 oxygens, and here we have 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. Ladies and gentlemen, so let's take a few moments to work over some of these. Start with the first 5. Work with your elbow partners, right? So rows 1 and 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6. And then over here in the corner, boys, you just have to kind of rotate when you kind of check your work as you go. Alright, so do the first one, and then check with your neighbors. And if you got it right, if you both got it right, then most likely you're good. Then move on to the next one. If there's a discrepancy, try to see if you can find the mistakes. Okay? If still not clear, then call me over and I'll come by. And I'll be walking around anyway. Okay? Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
No.
Yes. Yes. So you have to balance it. Because this is still a balancing assignment. Right? When I give you problems. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so this is where we're going to practice using our mole ratios. This stoichiometry 1 worksheet that I've given you, I want you to practice it. You're going to then, for example, the first problem, right? You're just making simple conversions where you have to take the grams of oxygen and convert each of those to moles. right? So the first one is just really a single step. The second set of problems, right here, is more of a work problem. And I give you, for each work problem, I give you an equation. Check that's balanced, and if it is balanced, you're fine. If it's not, balance it. Then use those mole ratios to find the solution to the question. Alright? So, this is your homework. See you tomorrow.